GM Osu game Chattington. We know in the Osu game, we love the speed meta. Everybody's hopping onto the Wu-Tang. We got the drunk ears. They're tapping all of the notes right here. But everybody's hopping into the Osu game. We got the Tori Mimbana on the sidetrack day. We got the Nineric on the number 2. He be twerking on all of these maps, getting 1800 PP on every map he plays. In Osu game, speed meta is basically a big deal. We got the Wu-Tang recently with the Rapid Trigger. It was like a couple years ago when the Wu-Tang clan, they hopped in and told everyone, all right, chat, you don't have to tap with your membrane keyboards anymore. Now you can tap with the speed of light, and everybody's now getting to 1000 p please on the glory days, the Lionheart, the Valley of the Quandale. Everybody's hopping onto the Osu game here, and everybody's looking for these new ways to improve, how to get better at the game. Can it be the next Wu-Tang? Is there going to be a Wu-Tang squared, or can it be that the Osu players develop another finger? But I will tell you guys in this video a potential solution. This is a speculative video on what could be the next speed meta or the new technique on how to play, and I want to bring to you guys in this video. It is a method called the 4 keys. So I was watching this video earlier on the YouTube. A friend, he sent it to me. He was like, yo, did you hear about the 4 key meta in Osu game? And I was like, what the hell is a 4 key? I thought he was talking about the Mania, right? Because like on the Mania, you got the DFJK, you'll be hopping on it, you're going to be playing with your 2 hands here, and you'll be hitting all of the notes. You're gonna be like jack heads. But nowadays in Osu game, everybody thinks that there could be a 4 key. I don't know who everybody is, but what I will tell you guys is that there was this video. It was made by this wonderful person named Miyu_. It was a really great video. I will link it to you guys in the description. I highly suggest to watch it. But if you do not want to watch it here, I will give you guys the summary. And essentially, I just wrote a little bit of notes here, but it's a video talking about the playstyle that could change Osu forever. And he was basically talking about this new speed potential thing called the 4 keys, and I want to give my commentary on his video on the whole 4 key atmosphere, because I don't think there's that many content about this, and it could be potentially something huge. And basically what it is, I will explain what 4 key is that it's essentially an Osu game. You use the 2 fingers here, so I would do maybe TU, I do the index and ring finger, and you would just tap it for 2 keys like this. This is what like 99% of Osu players do. But what 4 keys allow you to do is that in the new laser mode, which has been pushed by Beppe and the Osu game people lately, is that now you can not only just tap with just 2 fingers, but also you can do with 4 fingers. So you can tap with the ASDF, for example. So your pinky on this, the ring finger on this, the middle finger on this, the index finger. You can do this, and this essentially, theoretically, you can increase your streaming speed by 2x, because now the strain distribution is not just on these 2 fingers, but also on the 4 fingers. And it is quite nice in theory, right? But there is a lot of drawbacks, I suppose. So I will tell you guys, the one big problem in this video that he said the playstyle that can change Osu forever was the key lock.
Explain a game mechanic you probably haven't heard of before called key lock. At first glance, you might think Osu has 4 different inputs, key 1 and key 2, as well as mouse 1 and mouse 2. However, in reality, these 4 inputs correlate to the same 2 buttons. For example, mouse 1 and key 1 are actually just 2 different ways to activate the same button. The reason this matters is because Osu registers inputs in such a way that only one input can go through at a time. Meaning, if you're already holding down key 1 and then you click with mouse 1, the click won't get registered. Okay, hopefully that all made sense, but if it didn't, all you really need to know is that when tapping in 4 key, you need to have your finger completely off of the key before your next key press goes through to avoid nullifying your input, which I know on paper might not sound like a huge deal, but I can tell you firsthand that in practice it makes tapping noticeably more difficult, and when you combine that with the complexity of using 4 fingers to tap instead of 2, it makes the game a lot harder.
Yes, guys, so he explained it way better than I could here, but essentially the key lock, we got the fingers here, and there's an interception where sometimes if you want to tap the Q or the E sometimes, then it taps them at the same time. And you know, with 4 fingers, it's pretty hard to finger control that essentially. And that's one of the biggest problems, right? But there is one player out there that I will summarize. I'm not trying to explain the whole freaking video here because I don't want to copy his video, but he's basically saying that there's this one player called the 120 Cell. He's like this guy from German, and he's essentially the GOAT of speed. He's hopping into the Osu game. He's getting to 1000 PP plays on Ascension to Heaven. His fingers are quite literally ascending to heaven doing as well. I don't know how he's doing this, but his accuracy is quite impressive, because I will tell you guys, one of the interesting things about 4-key is that I tried it myself, and I tried it for like 30 minutes. I haven't really been playing Ocean that much lately, so I didn't want to commit like a month to trying this shit out. But I will tell you guys from my 30-minute experience that accuracy in finger control is extremely difficult, because you're changing your muscle memory from 2 fingers to 4 fingers here. And the fact that this guy is able to get 98% ac on these speed maps with high ass OD, so the OD is above 10.5. This shit is OD as fuck. Like, it's stupid. I don't know how the hell he does it. I'll tell you guys that there's some more intricacies in that video. I suggest watching it. They got the 3-key, the zigzagging, some alternate. Like, there's a bunch of more other stuff. But essentially, the main idea here with 4-key is that speed and stamina can theoretically be doubled. But is it actually doubled? Because we know in reality there's error. We know that there's the brain errors. Sometimes it's a lot more calories to do 4 things at once. But I want to say that my immediate thoughts for 4-key before I consult with somebody, after I watch the video, was that, oh, 4-key sounds interesting. It could theoretically make the Osu game a lot better for your speed and stamina, because the load is distributed amongst 4 fingers instead of 2. And that means you can theoretically double your streaming speed, right? That's what I thought, right? But I'll tell you guys that I consulted with a friend. This was a person who told me about the 4-key. He played a bit of 4-key here, but I will tell you guys his first comment here. So I basically asked him where one of my biggest concerns about switching to a 4-key method is, how large is the adoption going to be? How large is the adoption curve? How is it going to be to change from 2-key to 4-key? Because that's quite a large difference. So I basically asked him, how long did it take him to get adjusted to 4-key? And this is what he said. So I'm sure you can figure the playability of each skill set scale differently. Within 3 months, I could play most maps pretty comfortably, with the exception of streams, not speed and high BPM finger control. But 1 month in was when I was able to play normal maps and get the alternating down. At 6 months is where I would say I 80-90% match my 2-key level, with speed being a bit better than my 2-key level. And in my own opinion, when I was reading this, I was like, holy crap, 3 to 6 months, that is quite an insane level. Because when I was trying to adjust from mouse to tablet, for example, it took me about, like, honestly, it took me a few months as well. But the thing is that when you see the number like 3 to 6 months, and you see something quite drastic from 2-key to 4-key, you're like, oh, that's such a large number. But in actuality, it could potentially not be that deep. So I will cover that a bit more later on. But another thing I said to ask him was, how much did your speed improve? Because that is the main question here, for, is it actually effective to improve your speed? And from his own words here, he said, I'm probably not the golden reference, because I had a lot of hand health and finger speed issues on 2-key, and a lot of finger speed issues on 4-key, as I'm one of the slowest 4-key players, still fast for a 2-key player. And he said that it was a 40% speed increase for me. So you guys know what a 40% speed increase means for like top players, right? So we got the people like the Astronaut, they're hopping onto the Ascension to Heaven game to 300 BPM death streams on the 200 notes in a row, but this guy's doing it on 40% speed. And we know that 40% speed, what is 40% of 300? That is like 420. That's like Snoop Dogg levels. This is stupid, right? And if that's his true words, he's been doing it for months. And I asked him, I basically prompted him like a chat GPT question. He was basically like, yeah, 40% speed. It's not practically based on some insane statistical numbers and mathematical models, but you know, if that's something that he created from his mind, we could probably say something pretty decent. And the third thing I will ask him here is finger control. So finger control is quite an interesting concern for 4-key, because when I was trying it, I couldn't control my fingers for shit, because I'm used to 2 keys, right? But he said finger control difficulty is pretty misunderstood at 4-key, because a lot of people don't take into consideration that each finger is tapping slower, meaning less strain, meaning you can put more focus into controlling each finger. So my finger control is okay, not great, but I don't think that is anything significantly worse, considering some things just feel easier to me because it's significantly less strain. Still feels like there's some constant control difficulty though. So what he's essentially trying to say here is that it seems that it's a bit misunderstood on how finger control is here, but he's saying that since your fingers actually tap slower, you actually have a lot more control over your fingers, because you're essentially tapping less per finger with 4-key, since it's more distributively equal. And he's saying the finger control is okay, but it seems that it's mainly because of that less strain. So it seems that for some people, if you're an alternate player and you're already used to 2 keys, then like 4 keys, maybe it's not that much of a stretch. I'm not really sure though. I tried it. I can do both single tap and alt, and I was like, yeah, this is weird. So take the words with a grain of salt here. The fourth thing I will ask him is, do you think the trade-off was worth it? So he said, said, to me, it was 100% was. I wasn't sure if I ever have a tapping future of Osu. Now it's basically guaranteed given the grind. But I full alter since the start of the game, so I felt partially comfortable making the switch. Full single tap players or players of a lot of speed naturally probably wouldn't think it's worth it, considering it takes like 3 to 6 months to reach your previous level again. Yeah, so again, it seems that the trade-off, you got to do a lot of time on learning 4-key. But for him, one of his largest pain points was that, oh, I can't tap for shit. And now I have a method where I can have double my fingers. That's going to be amazing for my tapping. So it's a bit niche, right? If you're somebody who can already do 2-key speed tapping, like the speed goats of Osu game, like Nina Rick and Toromi Vana and Atrona and Saito, then yeah, 2 keys. You don't need all that 4-key shit. And if you wanted to do it for future games, then maybe, right? It's probably like switching from a small area to a large area. But for some people, you got to make that decision yourself. And the last thing I asked him, the 5th thing here, was about mental overload, because it seems that when I was trying to list the pros and the cons, I'll review it later in this video, but essentially the pros and the cons of the tapping is that mental overload's a big deal, because when you're starting to learn how to tap, then your brain has to do not only just 2 of these fingers, but also 4 fingers. So that technically means your brain is doing 2x the output in brain energy for that one section, but on a systematic level, it's probably 1% higher, like something much lower. But what he's trying to say here is that mental overload, he doesn't think is present because muscle memory is really overpowered. So yeah, there's another thing, right? Because with 2 keys, if you're trying to play the maps and the keys, like, you don't even have to worry about when you got to tap, what is the OD, what is the exact amount of force you got to tap the keyboard to tap it. Like, your brain doesn't have to register this because it's loaded in your memory. It doesn't need that many more calories. It's kind of like when you lift stuff in the gym, where over time, as you do more and more weight, then the nervous muscle connection gets more and more reinforced. So it takes less brain power to lift a previously challenging weight, is what I'm trying to say. And it's the same thing here. So yeah, that was a review of this. I think it was a pretty interesting thing. And my final thoughts in this video for, is the 4-key meta, is this a new speed meta? And I think that theoretically, yes, it can be the next meta. However, this is going to be such a large change in scale where somebody, if they do it, they have to be willing to take it as a multi-year investment, because you have to go at it for months here. And I think another thing about this is that if you are able to become a 4-key player and consistently tap like above 400 BPM speed, so when we get shit like Ascension to having 2x rate change when that gets ranked, then yes, 4-key will be dominant over 2 keys, because 2 keys can only tap so much, right? There's only so much that the human body can do. But with 4 keys, now you're having double the stamina and speed. Technically, probably not double, but theoretically, I think it is quite powerful. And just to summarize the pros and the cons of the 4-key method here, do you think you should do it? And like, personally, my experience with it, like, I don't play that much Osu anymore, so I can't try it out for myself. But if you want to try it yourself, I will also show the link in the description below. I was reading it. It's a pretty decent comprehensive guide on how 4-key works. But for my own synthesis on 4-key is that pros, there's a higher theoretical speed ceiling and improved stamina distribution. So we said that earlier. If you're able to tap with 4 fingers instead of 2, you can tap faster theoretically, and there's less strain per finger. So you will have more stamina. Pretty easy, right? You get more speed and stamina. And the cons. So massive learning curve, and you have to learn it from scratch basically, but it's similar in time length to other tapping methods, so it's not like relatively difficult. And 2, reduced accuracy and control early on. So finger control is pretty difficult early on, but he actually told me that it actually gets better later on as you keep playing it. 3, mental overload. So mental overload, it's only an issue early on, and over time your muscle memory just catches up. So it's just an issue early on, right? And then 4th, it's not currently meta. So if you want to look at it from a data analyst perspective, right now in 4-key world, the highest PP play is like 1,000 PP play. And in the 2-key world, the highest PP play is a 2,000 PP play by Amrek. So just by that stats alone, that means that 2-key is a better method performance-wise than 4-key. However, 4-key's only been around for like 10 years compared to 2-key, which is around for like double the length. And 4-key has only recently been more adopted because of laser, right? You had to do all this bullshit if you wanted to do it in stable. Like, you got to get down like an auto hotkey layer shit. Like, it's stupid, right? So in practical terms, 4-key has only been in circulation for a few years compared to 2 key, and we already have half of the performance when it's only been like 10% of the lifespan of 2 key. So this is speculative, of course. It's kind of like finding an early investment, like can this be the new Amazon or whatever the fuck? I don't know, maybe, but all the fundamentals are here with the 4 key method here, where the main selling point is that it gives you higher speed and it gives you higher stamina because you have more fingers to play with. But there's a lot of learning curves. But all of these cons are honestly early on. If you're able to keep going to 4 key, then theoretically it's way better. I don't know though, because in the real world we haven't seen the actual asymptotes for what can happen. But in theory, it could be huge, especially once rate change gets ranked and people are able to do 3,000 PP plays or 400 PP in death streams. It's a wrap, bro. But that's what I'll say for you guys. And the recommendation, so from his experience, as I said, the pain point for the 4 key or people with tapping issues and have issues just doing 2 keys. But for most people, they should probably stick with 2 key because making that investment over to it could not be worth it. If you're already doing well with 2 key, then why change it? So that's just my own take on it. It's a bit balanced here. I'm not saying that everybody should turn to 4 key, but it depends on if you're willing to make the investment on it. But the fundamental reasons, the theoretical reasons, is that yes, 4 key can be the next speed meta. However, are OSU players going to make the investment, and is the adoption curve going to be high enough for people to make the change, right? Because 99% of people do 2 key anyways, and they've been doing it for years. So why would they change if it's been working for them? So that's what I was saying in this video. Just a yap about will 4 keys take over, and yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say in this video, and I'll see you guys. All right, and my final comments here before I end this video is that I don't have the glasses anymore. It's been like 3 months since I uploaded on this YouTube channel, but yeah, I did like a LASIK surgery, so I don't got that glasses no more, so I don't have to see with my bitch ass glasses anymore. I just didn't like how I looked. I look like a goofy out legit, and now I look like a normal person, I think. So I think it's okay, but that is my final comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.